Oh wow, this dude does not like Mace Windu. I wonder why that is.
What you reading there?
Oh, this is the book of Boba Fett. And I'll tell you what, this guy can really hold a grudge. You can complain about its size, you can complain about what it's called, you can complain about those weird bumps down the side of it, but whatever you want to say about it, this is Boba Fett's Starship. This is a new set from LEGO Star Wars that was just released August 1st, 2021. It contains 593 pieces and costs $50 here in the US, unless of course you're shopping at a Costco, in which it seems like you can find it there for already a pretty nice discount. I'm Josh, this is Josh Builds Stuff, and I have Cobb Vanth on my shirt. It's kind of weird character to make a t-shirt out of, but he is from the TV show The Mandalorian, and that's relevant because today's set features The Mandalorian, and also a Mandalorian called Boba Fett. 2021 seems to be the year of LEGO Star Wars making slightly smaller, slightly more economically accessible versions of ships that are well known, that are, dare I say, iconic. We've got the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter earlier this year, and now we have a slightly scaled down version of the Slave One, otherwise known as Boba Fett's Starship. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about this new set, and I too, being a person, I also have opinions about this set. Some of those other people's opinions I agree with, some I disagree with, and as long as we're riding right down the middle of the road, I'll tell you some of my initial thoughts about this set. I like it. I like the smaller scale. I like the look and feel of this set. I like the minifigures that are included, but we cannot talk more about this set in detail until, of course, we build this set. The build for this set, well, it actually reminds me a lot of the build for another set. I built the UCS Slave One that came out a couple of years ago, and this build felt very similar to that, except that it was at a much smaller scale, actually. I didn't mind the build for this set. I think the Slave One just as a ship is unique enough and has kind of cool enough features that no matter what build and how many iterations LEGO makes of this set, every single one of the build experiences, at least in my opinion, are very enjoyable. Also, there's like a little side build, or like what I would consider like the golf cart of the Star Wars universe. It's like a ship carrier for the larger ship that was also included here. I'm not gonna say that was a nice build, but the entire build experience for this build was still very nice. I would like to refute a couple of popular opinions about this set. Well, let's not say they're popular, let's say they're heavily perpetuated opinions about this set. And before you call me a fake Boba Fett fan, I'll have you know that I had a cat, and his name was Boba. I would like to think that his last name would have been Fett, but we didn't give him a last name. He was a cat. I've heard people say that this set is too small, and I disagree. That shouldn't surprise you. I literally just said I'm going to refute some other points. I think the scale and size of this set is just fine. I like it. I enjoyed it. It didn't take too long to build. It's relatively displayable, and I don't know. I like the size. We don't need another giant Slave One. We literally just had the UCS Slave One a couple of years ago. If you wanted this set, you should have bought this set, not this set. A lot of people also want to talk about the name of this set. It should be called the Slave One. Look, we all know that the ship is called the Slave One. LEGO is not avoiding that name in order to be more politically correct or to avoid the issue of slavery. We all know that slavery happened in America and in other places and still does happen in places around the world. It is a terrible atrocity against just humankind in general. LEGO is not dealing with those issues in this case, at least not in my opinion. LEGO is marketing. They're very good at marketing things, and that's all they're doing in this case. They didn't want to call this a Slave One because not every little kid knows this ship is called the Slave One. Just like Moff Gideon's cruiser. They didn't call that Moff Gideon's cruiser. They called it the Imperial Light Cruiser because not every little kid who sees a big gray starship in the LEGO store knows who Moff Gideon is, but they know that they want a big old Imperial Light Cruiser. They go, that's a cool bad guy ship. I want that set. It's not an issue of political correctness. It is just an issue of marketing, and for that, I am not offended. Otherwise, I like this ship and I like this set. I do feel like the price point at $50 is a little too high, like maybe $10 too high to really be truly accessible to a really wide audience, but I can kind of see where LEGO arrived at that price point. Well, we'll talk about that when we talk about the details of this ship. First, let's talk about the thing that everyone wants to really talk about here, at least I assume they do. It is the minifigures included in this set. We get Boba Fett, and if you don't know who Boba Fett is, well, that's the guy whose starship this is. It is Boba Fett's Starship, and this is Boba Fett. He has a new torso, new leg piece, and a new head piece, which very much looks like the actor who portrays Boba Fett in like all of the clones. I very much appreciate that. I think this figure is beautiful. I think it's fantastic, and I think he's like one of the biggest draws in this set. I like him very, very much. And then of course we have the Mandalorian, which I'm sure isn't offensive to all the other Mandalorians to be called like, this guy's the Mandalorian. You guys are just other Mandalorians. This is of course Din Djarin, and yet LEGO did not see fit to include a Din Djarin custom printed face piece. We all know at this point who this dude is, and yet LEGO's like, nah, you still get the regular old black headpiece. Otherwise, the armor looks nice. I think this is the same torso and leg piece that we got in like a couple other LEGO sets. You can get it for cheaper in like the Tatooine Trouble set. You can get it for more expensive in the Light Cruiser set. But I don't understand why we didn't get the custom printed face piece. We all know who this dude is. He's the dude from Game of Thrones. He's the dude, I think he was in Wonder Woman. I didn't see that movie. We all know who this dude is at this point. It's Pedro something or another. Give us a printed face piece, LEGO. In any case, this is the first set to feature both of these characters as minifigures in the same set, and I think you couldn't really ask for a better combination of figures than the Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. Even though Boba Fett is technically, I guess, also a Mandalorian, but not the Mandalorian. There are many things I like and dislike about this set, and I would be remiss if I did not tell you about each and every one of those things. Let's start with things that I like about this set. For one, look, it's standing up on like a makeshift display stand disguised as a little, like, I don't know, vehicle transport thing. I do love the idea of this side build of like Boba Fett having to sit in this weird little transporter vehicle and drive his slave one about as he like needs to move it around. It's a starship, it can literally fly, but it's like, nah, I need to move this thing. I need to ride on one of those little like, I don't know, baggage carrier terminal vehicles at the airport / spaceport to get my vehicle where it needs to go. The slave one lands on its back like that, but this little vehicle was still fit to be included. That kind of ups the piece count, and so it's kind of an irrelevant argument to say the price per piece ratio on this particular set. Oh, it's almost 600 pieces and it's only $50. That's a pretty good for LEGO Star Wars, but like including that little set, it's slightly less good. That little build aside, which I don't mind, I love it as like a little display stand because the slave one is usually not super displayable because look, it lays down on a table like that. I love the idea that it can be stood upright for the most part. And speaking of being stood upright, you see that this has one of the most essential aspects of a slave one set as a LEGO set. If you look at these little wings, they're in that position, but then when I lift them up, they switch to that kind of sideways position. These, I call them wings, but I guess they'd be more like, I don't know, flaps or stabilizers or something. They're kind of, I don't know, why do you need wings? You're in space, there's no inertia, no gravity, no air resistance, but in any case, it is a well-known aspect of the Slave One ship that those wings move as the vehicle moves, and I like that that was able to be included at a set even at this scale. And as long as we're talking about this vehicle going upright, I really like this aspect. On the back there's a hidden little, I don't know, there's some technique going on the inside, but you can pull this little lever out, and that almost serves as a little handle, and that lets you swoosh and whoosh the vehicle about as you see fit. I love that aspect. LEGO is literally screaming at you to play with their set. Look, you can fly it around just like this. It's very stable. It's like this thing ain't falling apart. The most unstable part are these little blasters on the front. And otherwise, this thing really doesn't want to fall apart. So as a play set, I think this set scores rather high. And so long as we're talking about characteristics that make a slave one, it's essential that we can store some form of a frozen Star Wars creature in carbonite in this ship. I really like that the carbonite in this case is stored on this little 1x whatever brick. It is a sticker. It is, as you may recognize, a zombie pigman from the Minecraft series and the Star Wars universe. And in this case, the most important aspect of this ship is that there is a little cargo hold right there underneath the main body of the ship, and you can slip that little carbonited figure right in there, and then you can transport him away to the bounty hunter's content. That is kind of an aspect of a lot of other like throwback smaller Slave One ships that I'm very glad was included here, and it's not like one of those new modern well molded carbonite custom molded pieces. It's just a sticker on a brick. I kind of really appreciate that. And we'll see more of that when we do the full comparison across all the slave ones that I have in my possession, including this little fella and several others, but that will have to wait for a different video. Otherwise, I think the only thing this ship lacks is like the rotating cockpit area. Like on the big Slave 1, that cockpit will actually rotate as the ship goes up and down. In this case, it is a very small canopy, and you know, Boba's kind of squeezed in there, and you kind of gotta like squish down his little viewfinder thing. He can be positioned, I think, sitting either way, like this way or the other way, but again, that viewfinder kind of gets in the way. But, you know, that's kind of negligible in the grand scheme of things. Also, stud shooters, whatever. Stickers, whatever. I don't love putting stickers onto textured pieces. There are a couple of examples of that in this set. Overall, though, it feels like another little Slave 1 vehicle. And personally, having built a bunch of Slave 1 vehicles, I think this set, it does the vehicle justice. I am overall very happy with how this little set turns out in the end. And so, my overall thoughts, ignoring the blatant inaccuracies of having a random Gamorrean dude in carbonite included with this set, I do like this set. For 50 bucks, I think it's worth picking up. I think it is a beautiful likeness of a well-known ship, and yet it is small enough and cheap enough to be accessible to a newer audience, and also an older and less newer audience like myself. I think this set will appeal to many people across many generations, and the minifigures are great. The set itself is great. Go pick it up. It's 50 bucks, assuming you can find it in stores. I found it in Walmart, so go check your local Walmarts. And so, as always, I would like to know your opinions on this small, inaccurately named, strangely riddled with bumps and whatnot along its side. I would like to know your opinions on this little set in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about this set down below. As always, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends. If you didn't, be sure to go and complain on someone else's video. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.